So you've finished writing your web novel and you've put it out there online for people to read. But how do you get readers? In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can promote your web novel. So when we're talking about promoting your web novel, we're really talking about how to make your web novel more visible in order to find the right people who will be interested in reading it. So first of all, we will be focusing on the things that people are looking for when they're wanting to read a web novel. The main thing you want to focus on first of all is having a good cover and a good title for your web novel. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this is definitely true when it comes to the cover of your web novel. When people are scrolling past many other web novels, if your cover is not something that really stands out to the audience, they may be less likely to pick your web novel. Now ultimately, when it comes to creating a web novel cover, you would want to have some artwork on the cover from an actual artist, but if you are unable to have an actual artist draw your characters for your cover, then I do recommend choosing more of a minimalist or simplistic cover. Take a look at some text-based book covers to see what I mean. Even though these covers do not have any artwork in them, they still really stand out. And even if they only have writing on the cover, they can still really indicate what the book is about. I would recommend avoiding using AI artwork in your covers because it has a very particular look, and sometimes people avoid covers that use AI just because it has this particular look. So you either really want to have a human artist draw some manga style characters for the cover of your web novel, or draw the artwork yourself, or have a more minimalistic or simplistic design. This is why it's so important to have a title that really suits your book as well. I'd recommend putting keywords in the title of your web novel as well. So try to avoid a generic sounding title and instead try to have a title that, while it incorporates words that make sense for your genre, it also stands apart and feels unique for your book. Before deciding on the title of your book, I would recommend searching web novel sites or searching online to ensure that there are no other popular or significant books that are using the same title as you, because otherwise your book may be something that will disappear into the rest of the books on the web novel sites. You also want to make sure that it is memorable and easy to search. So if people are talking to each other about your book, it is a lot easier for them to mention your book rather than using a really long title that may be really hard to remember. So when you put your title onto your book, I recommend that it is very clear and easy to see. You are able to easily read the title, even if the cover is at a thumbnail size on a web novel site, you're able to easily see it at a glance. On the cover, the color scheme is also really important, so try to use more simplistic color schemes that really grab the audience's attention, but also makes them reminiscent of your genre. For example, if you're creating more of a mysterious book in the supernatural genre, maybe using a violet color scheme or a darker blue would make more sense. So now you have a really good cover and title. The next thing you want to do is you want to write a really good description. The description will be the next thing that the readers see when they are looking at your web novel. They click on your cover, they see your title, and then they scroll down to the description. So what is the description going to say? Well, you should also include some keywords in your description as well. Try to think about your genre and what people would search in order to find it, and then try to implement these keywords into your description. However, this does not mean that you should just write a wall of text with a bunch of random keywords. Otherwise, that would turn people away from your book. Instead, you really want to make sure that it describes your book well, but also incorporates these keywords into it. You should really start with a hook when you begin your description. So think about what your readers would want to know to make them curious. So this might be a question, a mystery, or an initial line that really grabs your audience's attention. Then you want to introduce your main characters, you want to introduce their goals, and you want to introduce the stakes of the story. These will be the next most important things that will keep your readers interested to read more. Try to keep your description simplistic, but describe your story as well as possible. Keep it between 150 to 200 words for the best possible outcome, because this will mean that people can easily read your description, but the description also captures your story well enough to allow people to see a glimpse of your world. Now you have created a really good description. The next thing you want to do is you want to choose the right categories and tags. On web novel sites, this is one of the easiest ways to make your web novel more visible. However, a lot of people tend to put a lot of categories that do not make sense for the web novel to be in. If you're choosing a category that's really popular and has a lot of titles just because it has a lot of books in it, it may end up meaning that your book is less easy to find. Your book becomes lost among the many other web novels that are similar. So instead, you want to base it on your genre, but you want to really narrow it down into the subgenres. So rather than choosing romance as a main category, for example, you can include it in there if you want, but try and narrow it down. Is this more of a historical romance? You could put that in as a category. Is this more of an urban fantasy? You can put that in there. So rather than choosing a genre that may have many titles in it like fantasy, try and narrow it down to the subgenres instead, and do this not only for the categories but also for the tags. Make sure the tags are really relevant because these are what readers will search for in order to find your story. So if you choose tags that are less commonly searched for but very specific for your book, it means that people will be more likely to find it. So rather than saying something like time travel, maybe you could use a tag that says parallel universe if this is more specific to your book. And this would mean that people who are searching for that specifically will be more likely to find your book in particular. So go through all of your categories and tags and make sure that they are really specific to your book, that you are definitely describing your book well in these tags and categories. And you don't have to just choose these tags once and then never change them again either. Keep changing the tags and trying new ones because you never know when a particular tag will be the right one for your web novel. When it comes to people reading your web novel, one of the best ways to show the web novel platform that people enjoy your story is for people to give their feedback on your book. So when people leave comments on your work, make sure to reply to those comments and encourage further conversation. The more conversation you have with your audience, you not only get to know your audience better and potentially make more friends, but you also show that your web novel is something that people want to talk about. And you can also include a gentle reminder at the end of your chapters to remind people to like your chapter, because sometimes people might just not remember. And liking the chapters is a good way to show the web novel platform that people are enjoying your work and that they want to see more. Now, going outside of the web novel platforms, it is also a good idea to use social media in order to help you promote your web novel further. Now, you don't have to be posting all the time, but just doing little things can help you to get your web novel to the right readers. For example, if you're on X or Twitter, using the right hashtags with your posts can mean that the right people will find them. For example, if you're using hashtag webnovel, hashtag writers community, or hashtag mwriting, then these may be some good ways to promote your post to the right viewers. Think about what other hashtags other web novel creators are using and try and use those tags in order to get your posts more noticed within the web novel community. I'd also recommend posting when you release a new chapter as well, or when you have a special moment in your story. Try and share those special moments in order to make people more interested in reading your book. Instagram is a good platform if you have a lot of concept art for your web novel. So if you're an artist as well as a writer and you have lots of concept art and you want to share your character designs, then Instagram may be a good place for you to do that. I personally love to see concept art from a character's world, and in stories with a lot of unique sci-fi or fantasy world building, concept art can really give a good glimpse of that world. So showing more of that concept art or behind the scenes can be a really interesting focus to have, and it may make people more interested in wanting to read the web novel that the concept art is from. Now, I don't really know much about TikTok, but the BookTok community on there is quite popular, and so if you are someone who prefers talking through short videos, then this may be the right platform for you. You can talk about your novel, share writing tips, or act out scenes or show scenes, even in an animatic style, from your web novel. And then on Reddit, there are plenty of different communities such as r/webnovels, r/writing prompts, or r/fantasy writers. Take a look around and see if you can find some relevant subreddits for your specific web novel and its genre, and then participate more in those communities. Share your concept art or your process behind the scenes. It's not only a great way to meet other writers, but it's also a really good way to learn more about the writing process and improve your skills. Now, going back to the actual web novel platforms, sometimes web novel websites actually have writing competitions, challenges, or events. If you participate in these events, it may be more likely that people will discover your work. These will usually involve you writing a short story or a paragraph or a longer novel for the particular event. And while this may be outside of your usual web novel, participating in these challenges is not only a good way to improve your abilities as a writer, but if people see your story in these particular events and challenges, they may be more likely to think, I really enjoyed this novel and I want to see more of this writer's work. So this is a good way for you to be able to put your writing out there more and to be more recognized as a writer on the web novel site. When it comes to your actual web novel, I do recommend posting consistently on a regular schedule. Now, only choose a schedule that is comfortable for you. I recommend being consistent, but not pushing yourself so much that you become burned out. So a lot of Webnovel creators will usually post once a week or once every second week. Once a month is quite a long amount of time, but if your Webnovel is longer, then this may be a more suitable choice for you. So basically, try a few different ideas and try posting in different schedules to decide which type of posting schedule works best for you. And when you post a new chapter, engage with your audience, ask questions, and see if you can learn more about which direction the readers would like the story to go in. Communicate with your readers and ask these questions in order to gain more of a community and have valuable discussions around your web novel. When it comes to posting regularly for your web novel, if this is something that may burn you out, you may want to start with having initially at least 5 chapters written before you actually begin posting it, because this means that you may be less likely to burn out in the long run. So we've gotten this far in the video, but some of you might be wondering, where should I post my web novel? Well, you may likely already be posting it somewhere, and maybe you're not seeing the results you quite want yet. Well, to tell the truth, there is not one particular platform you should really be posting it on. It is entirely up to you as the author, and one platform that works for one writer may not work for the next author. So you really want to try different platforms to see what works best for you. And keep in mind too that you don't just have to choose one writing platform, you can post it across multiple platforms depending on what works best for you. Some of the most common platforms for posting web novels include Webnovel, Royal Road, Honeyfeed, Taptastic or Tapas, and Wattpad. Each of these have very different audiences and will usually have different genres posted on them. So I would recommend looking at the website, seeing what kind of web novels are available on the website, and then determining whether your web novel would be a good fit for that website. And if there's more than one website that would suit your web novel, then I would recommend posting it on that amount of websites. If you have exclusive content that you wish to share outside of the web novel platforms, it may also be helpful for you to join a Patreon or create a Ko-fi page, because this is a good way for your audience to support your work while you're also able to share your chapters. On these websites, you could offer early access to new chapters, bonus chapters and exclusive content, behind the scenes look, unique concept art, or Q&A sessions, for example. And a lot of authors will do this. They will post their free chapters on a web novel platform, but then they'll also use a social media like Patreon in order to offer exclusive content and earn money from their work. So with all of this, there is one more thing you should really do when it comes to promoting your web novel, and that is polishing your writing. Even if you've been posting for a really long time on these web novel sites, new readers will always come back to your first chapter. So your first couple of chapters need to be the best chapters in your story. Even if your first chapter is good, but your most recent chapter is brilliant, people aren't going to know how good your last chapter is just from looking at your first chapter. So in order to get readers interested, if you are constantly improving your skills, which you will as a writer, then you need to go back and make sure that all of your chapters are polished and constantly up to date. Make sure you do simple checks such as good grammar, punctuation and spelling. Make sure that the dialogue is formatted correctly, but also make sure that your pacing is correct as well. So try to avoid slower points of pacing. If you're able to speed up the pacing, then make sure you go back into chapters and try and format it in a way that keeps readers engaged from beginning to end. So this is how you promote your web novel on a web novel site. In my next video, I'll be talking about how to promote your web novel if you're posting it on your own website. Thank you so much for watching my video today, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what kind of web novel you're creating, because I would love to hear about it, and I'm sure others would love to hear about it too. Visit my website midnightscross.com for resources, templates, and workbooks that can help you to level up your story. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!